Good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m. on Tuesday, May 7th. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. On this nice, wet Tuesday morning, which seems to be every Tuesday lately. We'll begin with the dispensing of the minutes from the meetings on 4/15, 4/16, the second meeting on 4/16 and 4/29. Those minutes can be approved individually or collectively. Is there any modifications?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve all four collectively.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing, is there?
Just adjusting for in case I want to talk later.
Hearing no comments, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, minutes are approved unanimously. Today's agenda, is any corrections or modifications to today's agenda? Board members, Administrator Kelly? Nope. I'll entertain a motion to approve today's agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, motion by Commissioner Catchmark,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, agenda is approved unanimously. Today's consent agenda, would anyone like to remove anything from today's consent agenda for further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
claim number 109638 for discussion, waste management contract.
Okay, what was that under?
That's under
Finance?
claims.
Oh, claims.
Acknowledgements of the claim.
Acknowledgement of the claims, okay. So you want to take claims?
109638.
1096.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda with that item removed.
Okay. With that item removed, we'll deal with it under items for consideration if that works, just to giving time for staff to pull up the pertinent information for that. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve today's consent agenda with that claim of 109639.
638. I'll make that motion.
638, all right.
Thank
Motion
you.
by Commissioner Catchmark,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, so that one I move to items for consideration, administration 6. And so now moving forward under the timed agenda items, Chad Hausman with the Highway awarding contract number 2409.
Morning, Commissioners. One item for you today. So this is just to award contract 2409 for the construction of the roundabout out here at 25 and 83. New Look Contracting out of Rogers. Construction is slated to start sometime as soon as we get contract signed, and they have till like the end of September. So basically looking to award that, and this has been approved by MnDOT since it's parts of their roads, so we had to wait for their approval, otherwise we would have brought it last meeting. So we're ready to go.
All right.
Hey, Chairman,
Yes.
one question, Chad.
Yeah.
I was approached this weekend by somebody that's in the building industry and wondered why they're not double roundabouts with the growth that's happening between Buffalo and Monticello.
It's a good question. Yeah. One is MnDOT doesn't have any plans to have a multi-lane, 4-lane road between Buffalo and Monticello in the next 20 years.
Okay.
And so their requirement is if a single lane will provide the capacity for 10 years, then you only build a single lane.
Okay.
If it's under 10 years, then you can look at a double lane roundabout. But that's why. So it's a good question, but it is designed to be expandable. So we're not tearing the whole thing out. We're just bumping the curbs out in the future when needed.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yep.
It's always nice to blame the state.
Yeah. Pass the buck. No, it's good logic. If you over design them, then there's safety issues too. So they like to keep them as tight as possible, as long as possible. So
Okay,
yep.
cool, thanks.
Mr. Chair, just
Yes.
a couple quick questions.
Yeah.
So we don't have a start date on it?
No, we'll know soon, because the way we have it written is we give them a big window, but once they start, they only have this much time. So it'll be kind of sliding. So when they tell us they're ready, so that way we get better bids. So it'll hopefully start after school. And in a perfect world, it starts after school and is done before school starts. But, it's a busy construction season. So once we get that, we'll get the word out.
As well, the detours, have those already been established?
Yes. Yep. It's our CASA 37, our CASA 12, and then Trunk Highway 55. So should be fairly easy. So.
All right, thank you.
All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion to award contract 2409.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Contract approved unanimously.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
Now moving on to our 9:08 timed agenda item. We're running a few minutes ahead, but that's fine. I feel it's a non-controversial, contentious item here to approve the two resolutions offering support for border-to-border grant applications to Midco and Charter.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Board. As Commissioner Vetch stated, there are two resolutions before you for approval. The first would offer support and financial contribution to a charter project that would serve up to 781 locations in Marysville, Rockford, and Buffalo Townships. The second would support a Midco project in Silver Creek, Monticello, and Maple Lake Townships, bringing service to up to 454 locations. This will allocate $300,000 of our ARP funds to these projects, and it's really our last opportunity to do so based on the timeframes for the ARP expenditures. With that, I would take any questions.
Board members, I will applaud the members of the Broadband Committee, Elizabeth and her team, as well as the ISP providers that have stepped up to apply every round. Some of them we did better than others, but ultimately, I think how many points did we, up to this point, I think we've had connectivity to
3,905.
That's, and with this last one, if we get all of them, we might be able to get close to that 5,000 mark, which would be phenomenal.
Very exciting.
Mr. Chair, just an additional comment, just thank you for all your hard work and building those relationships with the providers as well. It's just really helped things to compel and get to the point where we're at. So thank you. Thanks.
And there's worth noting that there's still a lot of money out there, especially at the federal level. It's just a matter of working the complexity of being able to get those funds. I think that's one of the bigger challenges that we see, and I think the state sees with it. So more to come with that. All right. I'll entertain a motion for those two resolutions offering support. We can approve them collectively or individually, whichever you so choose.
I'll make the motion.
All right. Motion by Commissioner
collectively.
Dietrich,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Catchmark. Is that collectively?
Yep.
All right, to approve the two resolutions offering support to border-to-border grant applications for Charter and Midco. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, it's a resolution. Commissioner Catchmark.
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously. All right, thank you. We're still a couple minutes ahead here, but we'll move forward here. Chief Treichler, thank you
Morning,
for
Mr.
coming
Chair,
forward.
members of the board. Two resolutions today. The first one is asking the board to read and adopt a resolution declaring next week, which includes the May 15th as Police Officer Memorial Week. Happy to answer any questions regarding that.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Good morning, Chief. Did you
Morning.
have any plans for any award ceremonies or anything around here during that week? Sometimes agencies have that.
We don't have any awards scheduled. We have a couple other, maybe provide some food and different things for next week, but as far as awards, no.
Okay.
Is there rumors that the chief and the sheriff are going to patrol it for a couple days there too?
If you want better service, we're going to keep the guys who are dedicated to the road out there, so.
I have to always heckle you about that.
I know.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
All right, motion by Commissioner Catchmark,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Holland. This is a very worthwhile celebration and honoring those individuals. So we thank you for coming forward with it, and we want to make sure that we give them a pat on the back next week when we honor them. Resolution, Commissioner Shane.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Second on the agenda is a resolution to approve a 2024 federal boating and safety grant. This is for dedicated additional enforcement for high activity days. Payment is through straight time overtime. Basically, it's for additional enforcement for like 4th of July, anytime events that occur on the water, whether it's music festivals, we've had a DNR fishing event, those types of things, and that would help cover those shifts.
Mr. Chair.
And yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. And I had requested on it as a side note for some exhibits that were referenced, because in the past, we've seen the allowable expenses, and sometimes stuff gets attached, but we don't see it, but it didn't sound like that one was attached. But I saw that you sent it, so that's helpful to know what's allowed in the grant. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the grant.
All right. Motion by
Second
Commissioner
that.
Catchmark, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Is it a resolution?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you. It was a resolution. So, but I'll start it off here. Thanks for correcting me there, Commissioner Holland. Resolution call. I vote aye.
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 All right. Resolution passes unanimously. See, when you have so many resolutions, I'm always bound to get one out of there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Check for
All right. And now Captain Ferguson making his way here to approve a resolution authorizing the transfer of surplus equipment and property from the Sheriff's Office to public corporation.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Resolution in front of you, kind of a generic title on my part, but yeah, I'm actually talking specifically about radios in this instant. Portable radios, the previous model XTS portable radio that we were using with our transition to encrypted radio traffic. That particular model no longer has utility within our office. So we're looking to transfer radios to, listed as a public corporation, city in this case, within the county. They would have utility for that entity.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Morning, Captain. I had a few questions. I had brought this up a year or two. I think we talked about it, that, hey, what are we going to do with these things and see who could utilize them. So, and I read the background and justification here. Did it get offered to the municipalities as far as street departments, public works, parks, or just the fire departments?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Ketchmark, yes, through the fire chiefs that was communicated. I didn't personally go to the cities, but one of the requests is from a municipality, and I believe they intend to use it for public works, not for their fire.
Okay. I'm just wondering, because didn't we have 150 and just, what is there, a couple dozen that are spoken for, so we're going to have some left?
Yes, there will be some left over. Some were transferred or in the process of being transferred internally to departments within the county that qualify to be on the armor system but do not require encryption. And the number was, yes, 150-ish, but that's in all states of operability. Some of them are parts units, but there will be leftover working units, maybe 50 or 60.
Okay. Is there chargers and batteries that go with them?
For most. For the ones that are being transferred, yes. For what's left over, there will be some units that do not have a charger with them any longer. With the newer model radios, there's a sleeve insert that can be put in the charger. So some of those chargers that we previously owned had utility with the new model radio as well.
Okay. And I was talking with finance. I just want to make sure for audit purposes that everybody that is supposed to be offered the radios is offered. And I don't know if that includes township maintenance also, but I want that on the record that we inquire so that somebody doesn't ask later, how come we didn't get this offer and it was only to the fire chiefs? And then doing a little lookup, there is the online value per se runs between $40 and $200. And as a fellow board members, I think we should talk about if we want to pass any costs along. It's give them a little skin in the game. Otherwise, it's very easy to say, oh, we'll take 15. And when they put them up on the shelf, will they ever have use or not? It's just for accounting purposes. Do we want to talk about that? Like St. Michael resident help pay for all the radios, but if they're going to Cokato, that really isn't going to benefit the folks that paid for them in the first place. So I just want to run that past. If we want to ask a few bucks for it, I mean, I'll go with the consensus, but I just wanted to throw it out there about a cost versus just gifting these radios. Because brand new, they're in the thousands, right, Captain?
This particular model would no longer be at that value. I think the value you stated is accurate.
But if they were going to say, oh, we need radios and we can't get a free one from the county, it would be over $1,000 for a radio for a new model.
My understanding would be for this particular model, they would have to go to the online market or to a vendor like Granite to get a hold of these radios. They're not a radio that Motorola is mass producing any longer.
Okay.
So I'm trying to, so we already have some of them that are spoken for. Now, are you asking to put a dollar amount on those ones?
Right.
Which I guess it feels like putting a price on something after somebody already agreed to take them. I guess I wasn't part of those conversations. I feel like it might be a little bit disingenuous when they maybe think they're getting them for free, and then all of a sudden, after the fact, we're telling you, oh, by the way, the 50 of them that you're taking, we need a couple $1,000s because we're going to sell them to you at $50 a piece. I don't know. I just don't want to.
Well, and Mr. Chair, you and I are the only ones that were here when it was first talked about, and there was a cost talked about. But now the way it's presented, I don't know who delivered the message. I didn't, but now we got it presented to us that somebody promised them for free. That wasn't done by or conveyed by the decision makers here.
Mr. Chair, just real quick, on the note that we had an old government building, and a lot of that equipment went to different nonprofits and different entities throughout Wright County, and I don't believe we didn't charge anybody for that office equipment and different things like that. As we moved to this new facility, did we? We didn't charge anybody for that?
No.
This is kind of more of a situation where, I mean, either way, it'd be different if we were going to something that wasn't another governmental agency, but it is. It's just going. So it's going from one taxpayer entity to another taxpayer entity. You could argue that there's some inequity into it based on who paid for them, but ultimately, it's still offering a Wright County citizen benefit. So I think going back on it and trying to collect a few dollars on it is going to just create more headaches and more bad will than it's probably worth.
Oh,
Chairman
okay.
Vetch, I have a question for Captain Ferguson. What about, do you guys still do the spring auction? Would there be a way that you could sell the remaining ones at the auction? With it notable, I mean, a lot of people look at those auction sites, and if they're interested in getting them, like the remaining.
Sure. Mr. Chair. Commissioner Holland, yes, in theory, I guess I'm operating under, which we can certainly do that. I'm operating under the market, being that I've spent the last several months trying to give them away to the entities without much success, except for 2 entities. So I don't know what the actual realized market would be for them out there. Our radio vendors did not have any interest in taking them off of our hands, so that's kind of what I was using to gauge it. But I certainly, to the discretion of the board, if that's what you want done with the remaining, certainly will.
Mr. Chair, if I could just input here a little bit. I don't really think that we should be charging in, because I'm worried about that we're actually charging then our constituents twice. I understand where he's coming from, because if you have some skin in the game, my biggest concern is I want to make sure that it's offered to everyone. That would be my biggest concern, so that every town, every township knows the availability.
And Mr. Chair, I'm good with that if we can cover the audit and the fairness piece by doing that. And then I'm fine. I'm not going to arm wrestle for a charge. But I just want to bring that up mainly for the ones that weren't here at the time, and that the decision came up here already made before we really weighed in on it. So I wanted to point that out. And then the last thing is the radio user fee that we hear a lot of. I push back, I'll say, from those that say they think the county should take on more, all of the cost. When we dole out these, are they going to be paying the user fee for a dozen or whatever they get on the shelf just because of the mere possession of, or when they get put into service, are they going to start paying that fee?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Ketchmark, my understanding is that it would be a use, that the fee is being paid to access the armor system, not necessarily be in possession of the radios.
So they'd be on the honor system to say, hey, we're using these 12 that you gave us, now charge us the user fee?
Through auditing, we would know if they attempted to access, if those
Oh.
particular individual radios attempted to access the armor system. We
Okay.
routinely audit those lists from all the municipalities.
Okay, and for other board members, this has come up, and it's a budget item we talk about, that the fire departments think that we should take on all or more of the cost for that, and it's based per radio. And not just when the thing is turned on, but just by having it, and occasionally turning it on, they're paying the user fee.
Correct.
Yep.
If they have the intention to access the armor system with it, then yes, they're paying the fee.
Okay, well, thanks for clearing that up.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution transferring the surplus equipment.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Dietrich. Any further discussion? Hearing none, resolution, Commissioner Holland.
Aye.
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 Aye, resolution passes unanimously. And next would be the State of Minnesota Human Trafficking Investigators Task Force.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the second item will be a joint powers agreement with the Minnesota BCA to participate as an affiliate with the Human Trafficking and Sexually Exploited Youth Task Force run by the BCA. The major components to this for us, we've obviously been conducting and participating in these investigations for years. This would just formalize an agreement with the BCA, opening an avenue for some reimbursement for training and overtime expenses specific to those investigations.
Any discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve the JPA.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Dietrich. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, the JPA approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're a few minutes ahead here. I think we'll just have Jamie make her way up here as we'll put our Health and Human Services hats on here, and we'll move on to the Health and Human Services portion of the agenda. The first item on the Health and Human Services agenda would be to approve the consent agenda for Health and Human Services.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, the consent agenda for Health and Human Services is approved unanimously. Next would be the timed agenda items.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Board. Let's see, we have, lost my voice, a resolution to accept our 2024 donation, which you'll find in your packet. Donation of $239.79 for the Meals for Child Foster Care Provider Training. Donor is the Forgotten Initiative.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the donations for April of 2024.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Holland. Resolution. Any discussion? Commissioner Dietrich.
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously.
Thank you. Our next resolution is to proclaim May as Foster Care Awareness Month. We have just a huge thank you and recognition for our foster care providers who open their hearts and homes to kids needing a refuge. Whether it's with a family foster care provider or a non-family member, the work they do to provide kids with everything a child needs, especially kids who have an abundance of change and upheaval in their lives, is a great gift to our community at large. So we want to recognize them. I do have Michelle Miller on standby virtually if you'd like if you would like it read to you. Otherwise, we have the resolution as part of your packet. Again, these foster care providers do an amazing job, and we would be lost without them. Currently, the good news is, as you know, and you see in the news a lot, that the push is with the state is for counties to place more children with family members versus non-family members. I believe the The threshold the state sets is about 35% of kids should be placed with family members. Wright County is currently at 70.6% of kids being placed with members of the family, which just makes that transition for kids less arduous, I believe. So kind of good work, very good work on our foster care provider parts as well as our licensors parts here in Wright County.
Well, we thank the very challenging work that they do. I think it's very honorable that we do honor them here in May. I don't think we can give them enough thanks to taking on a very challenging job to offer a place and love and care for youth that may or may not stay with them. And that's a very challenging task to ask for, and we can't say thank you enough.
Great words, Mr. Chair. I totally agree.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to proclaim May of 2024 as Foster Care Awareness Month.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Shane. Any discussion? Hearing none. Resolution, Commissioner Catchmark.
Aye.
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 All right, resolution passes unanimously. All right, moving on to the second timed agenda item, approving of the Mental Health Advisory Council.
Yes, and with that, I'm going to welcome to the other side of the podium our former Commissioner, Mark DeLayden, who serves on our mental health task force. So Mr. DeLayden brings to you, based on statutory requirements, recommendations for the board from our Mental Health Advisory Committee that they have looked at and have decided on. So with that, Mr. DeLayden.
Thank you, Jamie. This is kind of different being on this side. Commissioners, ladies, gentlemen, Derek.
Mark,
I've been waiting so long to be able to do that.
I know, it's great to see you back in the room.
This is something that when I was a commissioner too, we heard about it, and it's something that shows up every year after year after year. And a lot of it is nothing the county can really do about it other than to deal with those at the state level and push them to try and get some of these things fixed. And that's what it is. And Mr. Chair, I know regarding the previous one about foster cares, I know you have some direct relationship with it. And you're right, it's something that's a lot of work for a lot of different people, both for the children and those that are dealing adult foster care too. So anyway, to move on, these are the unmet needs that have been identified and discussed at the 2023 Mental Health Advisory Council. We have a statutory responsibility to present this report outlining the committee's understandings of unmet mental health needs of both children and adults residing in this county. At least annually to the board, the following is a list of the unmet needs and possible solutions discussed. Hopefully you can understand me. I had oral surgery 6 months ago and things still are working their way through. We have an ongoing lack of mental health providers to offer services for children struggling with thoughts of suicide and depression. One of the discussions we had regarding solutions is Bridging Hope hired new adolescent provider, more strategies relating to suicide prevention, education, and available virtual providers. Continual lack of housing availability in Wright County and the rising homelessness population with the county. So there's a need for more affordable housing, need for more low-income housing, need for more mental health beds, and a need for homeless shelters. A solution discussion was working with a few providers currently and possibility of expanding to more to provide supportive housing programs in our county. Homelessness Task Force Committee transition to housing SUD providers. On a side note regarding that, I do know Wright County Community Action has been working with I believe St. Cloud Housing Authority, who takes care of they have homeless beds up there, so there is some availability. Transportation is still a serious barrier in the county. Public transport is not available at all areas. It's not accessible. It's not convenient for a lot of people. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't want to wait either. They want to be taken now and brought back now. So hopefully someday there'll be a possibility for that. There's a need for affordable therapy providers for children and family. Again, a solution possibly, bridging hope and healing moments on the thumbs up list, allowing up to 5 free sessions for anyone. Nightly resources and STMA students given 6 sessions each for free through a Wright County Area United Way grant. Need for cell phone or internet availability. Again, the grant funding as a potential resource, which you guys approved one up here earlier, which is wonderful. Some of the PMAP insurance providers provide phones or phone minutes, and there's also a government-free phone program also. Promote more people to go into the mental health fields as therapy providers. One of the suggestions was to attend career day events and talks about the path to being a therapist, potential for student loan forgiveness, reimbursement for therapists who commit to rural counties. For Wright County, up to 3 years, 10,000 care must be provided in Wright County, but can live outside of there. As A to Z, mental health has a scholarship program for high school students interested in entering the field too. So these are some of the unmet needs, which again, you've heard from years and years, as long as I have also. So hopefully next year when you hear this, that there'll be a couple of things that have been dropped from this list. I'll be happy to take any questions if you have any. Good, because I don't have any answers.
I recognize that response.
Mark, I appreciate you coming up and presenting these unmet needs. This is always a very good telling gauge of where we're at here in the county and giving us some goals to work towards. I do know the transportation one. We've had a lot of those discussions at Trailblazer as we are having difficult getting staff. We have difficult getting buses. So we are continually on a backward slope when we want to be going forward. So it's hard because the rides are there, but we don't have the people nor the equipment to do it. And that's only making this situation more complex when we actually need to get more accessibility there.
You know, on a positive note, though, Trailblazers has provided more rides than what we had in the past. So, I mean, it is a positive step forward. Like you say, it's an issue with employees and stuff, too.
And before Mark leaves the podium, another update on this is under the homelessness issue that for a future board discussion, but funding has become available through our Fort County Adult Mental Health Initiative for housing. So there is currently funding that we have come into that we've since this list was created. So more to come on that, but. And there's also some additional funding. So the housing area, we certainly have a lot of work to do in that area, but I think the state and other entities are recognizing the homelessness crisis in the state, and so we're seeing more resources and opportunities around that area.
Well, the county's still got an old building that's empty.
Boy, I was waiting for you to say that.
It's been sold.
That's it. Wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Health and Human Services Unmet Needs Report.
So moved. I'll
Motion.
second that.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Thank you. Approved unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Director's comments.
Yes, and I'd like to invite Rebecca Waddell to join me at the podium. We are here to recognize our long-term eligibility specialist, Becky Waddell's retirement. Becky has been with us since October of 2018 until, when's your last day, Becky? I kind of hate to ask.
End of May.
End of May. So she gave us a nice period of trying to transition. However, I do want to recognize that we're celebrating Becky today, and congratulations and best wishes on your new venture into retirement. How do we thank someone who's kind of just, I would say, has been just a leader in our long-term care area, really finesses a lot of areas. I think it's one of those areas where you're talking with adult children about their their parents who are maybe in a decline, and it can be and it's about money and elders and all kinds of things, and it can be a very difficult position to be in. And Becky has just flawlessly maneuvered her way through that. So thank you. You've been a dedicated and dependable employee. It's going to be very difficult. I'm not even going to say replace. It's going to be very difficult to bring in other folks that can have the body of knowledge that Becky has. Your teamwork, dedication, and perseverance set the bar very high for the rest of us, and you will be missed. We hope you enjoy your retirement as much as we've enjoyed working with you, Becky, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything?
First of all, thank you for 5 great years at Wright County. I'm also going to encourage you to support my coworkers in any way you can to keep the ones that have learned this job and do it well. Keep them here at Wright County. Do anything you can. They're fantastic.
Stand up.
And this team is also teaching their peers. So they're smart, they're skilled, they're talented. Do everything you can to keep them here.
Rebecca, thank you so much for those comments. You know firsthand how much time and effort it takes to become good and knowledgeable at that part of the work here at the county. We need to give them all the help and support that we can get so we can have more employees like you that stay here for the long run and do great work for the citizens of the county. So I can't thank you enough, and I can't thank you enough for supporting all the replacements that come here in Wright County.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Becky. And Board, I'd like to, in your packet, you should have our 2024 April DHS performance report. This really is our report card, so to speak, from the state. It's a statutory requirement a number of years ago that the state stood up performance measures and a performance department down at DHS. So I was going to just quickly go through some of these. They all are good news. There are no PIPs, no performance improvement plans required. The first outcome that we're looking at are that people are economically secure in Wright County. And this is measured by the percent of SNAP, which is our food support program, and cash assistance applications processed timely. In 2023, our county performance threshold was 78.9%. The threshold is 75%. And we're up from last year's threshold, last year's performance, which was 74.9%. And that's above the state average. The second measure is the outcome. Again, our people are economically secure. In this case, the measure is the percent of expedited SNAP applications processed within 1 business day. Always a difficult measure, and it's become more difficult again with our long-term care, our eligibility specialists working very hard over the last couple of years with the pandemic and the unwinding of the pandemic. And with this one, there is again no PIP required. Our county performance in 2023 is 69.2%. The threshold is 55% or higher. And last year we were at 63.6%. So had a nice upturn in that measure as well. The final measure in this particular performance report is for the outcome that adults and children are safe and secure in Wright County. And the measure is the percent of vulnerable adults reported as maltreated with initial disposition for response made within 5 working days. And if you recall, we were recently here talking about our vulnerable adult positions, and we just increased our vulnerable adult social work staff by 1. In this case, we have the threshold is 90%, and we've maintained a 99% performance measure throughout the last 4 years. So that measure looks very good. And again, the state is kind of changing some of the indicators around this. So next year we'll see what those changes in the indicators mean for our performance. But with an additional worker, I have confidence that we will do just as well. So that is our performance report, our most recent one for this past year. I did want to just make did you have any questions about the performance report?
Oh, all right.
All right. I did want to mention, just was brought to my attention that our building here has just gotten a lot of recognition across the state as far as, a great place to meet. I think it brings more business into specifically Buffalo, but into Wright County in general, as we have larger groups meeting here that are, I think recently the ORAC group, the Governor's Opioid Council met here, and we have people contacting us, I'm sure other departments do as well, saying, hey, Jamie, this is a really nice central place to meet. Can we have our, regional or statewide meeting here in Wright County? And people are just always so appreciative and very impressed with the building facilities that we have to provide. I think it's a nice change from St. Cloud, which has always been very centric around Minnesota because we're close without having to deal with going into St. Cloud and some of the things like that. So just appreciation again for this building. As you know, I'm thrilled with it, but it's also being recognized across the state as a great place to be. I had one final item, and that's just an update. The shower room down in our public health bay, maybe you didn't know we had a shower room down in our public health bay, has been retrofitted to serve as a water testing lab. I want to thank Tim Dahl and Alan in assisting us with this change as we take on water testing. And our staff are currently being trained, and I met 2 downstairs by the lab today that are now nitrate tested. So we're ready to go on the new water testing out of our public health area. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Jamie, for those updates.
Thank you.
All right. Now moving forward to items for consideration. First one would be to adopt revisions to policy 309, employee recognition.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I can kick that one off. This was in line with some work that we've been doing under a strategic plan in the direction of looking at employee appreciation, recognition, and award programs. We had discussed this at the quarterly leadership team and what is being proposed. We've had an employee of the month in Health and Human Services, but not other areas of the county. And we're looking to expand that program across the entire county and all departments. So the proposal revised to the policy 309 is in your packet. I'll stand for any questions regarding that.
Chairman, I was wondering if I could, I had a discussion with Mark Mattice, and I think it would be a good idea just to refer this back to the Personnel Committee on May 28th, just for some minor tweaks.
May 28th. Yeah, I'm fine with that if
I'm
there's.
okay with that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to take another look at it then to see.
Sure.
Good.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. So with that, we'll just, we don't have to make any action on it. We'll just refer it back to as long as there's a consensus here to send it back, and we'll come forward here in June with a revised policy. All right. With that, moving on to the second item on items for consideration is to approve a resolution of final acceptance and final payment in the amount of $20,757.40 to New Look Construction for the contract number 2207.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this was on Daig Avenue, the roundabout that was completed. Highways verified the numbers. This is just closing out the project, so.
Any questions?
I'll make the motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, a resolution vote. Commissioner Shane?
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously. All right. The next item is the approval of lawful gambling application and adopt resolution for North Star Search and Rescue. This is pertaining to the event that is out there at Whispering Pines Golf Course.
Correct, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, the group, because this is the 214 that does require a resolution, we found that's the fastest way to get them their info. So that's why it's on as an item for consideration.
All right. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make that motion.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Holland,
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, resolution vote. I vote aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously. Next would be to refer items to the May 14th workshop. In the packet is included some of those topics. Is there anything that needs to be modified or added to that list?
Mr. Chair, go ahead, Mr. Ketchmark, if you have something. I'll just, got recent notice that the Fair Board would like to attend the workshop to discuss a property that is for sale near the fairgrounds. If we could add that to the list, that contact was made after the packet was posted, so.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, Administrator Matthijs, that email we got from the Fair Board, is that okay to send out to the other Fair Board or the other commissioners? And any other information, and I'm going to request a couple other tidbits, if you could make a note, that would be helpful for the board. Yeah, get out your crayon there. One would be, notice the beacon drawing shows the property lot line cuts through one of the buildings out there. And I don't know, that sometimes that GIS, I understand, has some fuzzy numbers, but we should make sure that we don't have property that includes part of a building that's up for sale. But I'd also like to know, for last year and this year, what events were scheduled at the fair and what they collected for having the event. Now, the fair itself, we can just summarize 5 days, but periodically they'll have an offshoot tractor pull, horse show, this or that. Because I was at the meeting last night and they're talking about proposed or assumed use if we buy this land. The we is us. And what we're talking about, just to put it in perspective quickly, is a half acre of land, asking price $225,000. There's a couple buildings on it. Presumably it would be demolished for around $15,000. They proposed that they could use some of our appropriation money for that demo cost because they deal with buildings and grounds. But it would be up to us to buy the property, and they, last night, unanimous for Wright County to pursue it if the offer that's on the table over there falls through. So that's just kind of a little bit, in a nutshell, what's up for discussion at the workshop. But so those are the pieces, though, in addition, that if you can round those up for us.
Yes. Mr. Chair, members of the board, yeah, we can look at the beacon photo. Again, that is a representation, so we're not going to probably send out a survey crew to identify property lines. That's not our job unless it's our property. Outside of the fair events, what events and what type of revenue they had, those are the additional things. I did get an email this morning from the Fair Board wishing to come to the workshop to present their thoughts. So we'll put what I've received for communication from them along with this additional information in the meeting packet for the workshop.
All right. Thank you. Very good. With that,
Mr. Chair, I have
yes.
another item that,
go ahead.
I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but you got item 6 as a review of a claim, and as a part of that background justification will come during that review. But
you want to add
I would like to add contract for goods and services as far as the review or the process of for the workshop.
All right.
And that's just a kind of a general, I'll be specific
So
on
just
my claim.
a procurement. Okay. All right. All right. Now with that, we have a consensus on that. We don't have to take any action on the approval of the agenda items for the workshop. All right. Now moving on to the number 5 is the schedule committee of the whole to discuss sheriff's office topics. This was alluded to at the previous committee of the whole, that we would have a subsequent meeting to discuss holistic operations and kind of a forward-looking discussion with the sheriff's office on where they're at, where they see themselves going, and potential needs on that pathway. All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I see that it was suggested that we get an update on the Oracle project, which includes the body cam, or maybe that's all of Oracle is the body cam project.
Yeah, that would be part of it. They're talking about the city contract rates, as well as just where they're at from staffing holistically. So it's covering a magnitude of topics.
So my point, and we had agreed to refer some specifics to the body cam to a future meeting, but I would like to know if we're going to get an approximate month and year that body cam product will be delivered and ready to operate. And if we aren't going to get that, which we didn't at the last meeting, then I don't really see the need to discuss, because staffing, budget, and policies are all kind of hinging on when the delivery date is for this item. And if it's going to be delayed to a certain point, all those things could change. Some of those things could change. So I'd like to know if that's on the table, that we're going to actually get some kind of time frame, because we haven't had that yet.
I will say at this time, they're not going to give us like a definitive month. That I know is not going to be the answer. Is it likely to be in 2025? Yes. So this is more of a discussion about when it happens in 2025, what things they will need that would pertain to it in 2025.
And that's your words, 2025. We haven't heard that yet. So I guess for the rest of the decision makers here, are you interested
I'm
in
comfortable saying 2025, but I don't know where you're at, Chief.
We were comfortable at 2024 too.
Yeah, if you're, Chairman, members of the board, if you're looking for a definitive date, we don't have that. We've got some loose timelines where we can discuss at the committee of the whole if you're interested in that. But if you're looking for definitive timelines and you want to wait until we have those, then we can delay that discussion to a different time.
I thank you for the honesty. I am in favor of that. Otherwise, I just see us circling around, and a lot of it hinges on a time frame.
I would say that I knowing that, I mean, I guess I'm saying 2025 because that's how I've been postured to, that it's a pretty likelihood that it'll happen 2025. So hence having the conversations prior to budgets, so they have an understanding of what's coming at us into the budgets. And whatever that need would be prorated. So if it happens in December of 2029, you're only budgeting a month of it, or actualizing a month of it. But you probably still want that information, because it is coming forward, and they're trying to do their due diligence and get you that information further ahead than later, so we can actually budget appropriately.
If we're talking about staffing when it comes to body cameras, different things, we know we're going to have that need in 2025. Most likely first quarter, but you can't just, hey, we have it, we need the staff next week. You have to plan and prep for that and do hiring and training, that kind of thing. So we would like to have that discussion if it's going to be part of this committee of the whole.
I'm leaving it to you, because when you were saying that without, holding them to until Oracle says that this is the date, waiting to discuss then, I feel like we would be doing it a day late and $1 short. We have to have it months in ahead.
We don't even have a year for sure. I'd like to defer to the other three
Mr.
here.
Chair,
We haven't heard from them.
I would prefer to have the discussion, even if it's preliminary. It's better to be on top of things rather than catching up.
Okay, that's three of us spoke. How about the other two?
Chairman Vetch, I don't want to, I feel like we're, after the discussion with Oracle, that we're really far away, because they just have these pieces mealed out to different organizations. I don't even know if they could definitively say how many people they're going to need without even knowing once all these things are working together. Because it sounded like to me at this meeting, fire was used in one aspect of it, jail another aspect. They've not melded those together, which they're going to need here. So I don't know if, I guess we could waste our time and talk about it, but I think we're a long ways away. Unless they really come in and work fast in the next few months to get all those pieces together working without any glitches, I think we're very far away. And so, I don't know. I think it's a waste of time myself, but.
The hardest thing with this is because the argument before was that we weren't included in the project and included in the process. So now that they're including us in the process, and now you're saying, well, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to do anything about it because it's not far enough along. I'm trying to. They're trying to include us in the process. They articulated, and we knew at the last meeting with Oracle, because it is a proprietary product, and it is very new, and for that reason, they are not going to handcuff themselves to a particular date. Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 12 months? I don't know, but it is at a substantial cost savings to the taxpayers. So your choices are right now, you can actualize that savings, and that product, you maybe get it 6 months, 12 months, maybe worst case scenario, 18 months, or we can pivot and shell out $4 to $6 million and go to an off the product shelf that's already existing in use. I guess that's my question, where you're at. Is that where the two of you are at? Would you like us to allocate budget of $4 to $6 million this next year, and imposture, and I'm going to say the word posture, to the sheriff's office to make that change? Because at the end of the day, they are under no obligation to have to make that change, because the sheriff does have the ability to decide what he wants to use it for, whether he would want to take it and you still continue going forward with the sheriff or with the Oracle, or he could choose and go off the shelf and have it go the other way.
Mr. Chair, I think that is a fair point, that we could choose to discuss, do we still want the free guinea pig service with unknown expectations of delivery? Or do we want to explore a system that we'd pay for that's already out and about throughout the state and working? But I want to say that my phone isn't ringing from deputies or citizens or even myself to push hard for the camera project. But if there are those here that feel strongly for it, then I want to present that we could go a different direction for more of a guaranteed time frame for a result. But I just want to stress that the deputies union and nobody is calling and saying, can you please pass this? Nor was it a priority when I was a deputy over there. I just have to throw that out there. But I'm just listening to these presentations and the feedback, and that we just kind of understand that there's some gaps and guessing on when we're going to have what some of us maybe want more than others.
Mr. Chair.
So,
Yes.
In response, I think we've had these discussions, and it's been, and Commissioner Holland has said, we need those body cameras right now. We've started having more discussions and involvement with the sheriff's office in this process. We've met with Oracle, and I think one of the other aspects that they mentioned is that they're a publicly traded company. As they're working on this holistic project that includes everyone on the same system, that won't be outdated in 5 years, that it's a process, that they can't give you a date, because that would be against that legal obligation as a publicly traded company. They can't give us a date. But obviously they're working together with the sheriff's department, and they want to give us an update. I don't think this is a hard decision to make.
We can add it to that.
I mean, but either way, we were having this meeting. So whether that aspect of that discussion is 5 minutes or 50 minutes, that will depend on board members, because we have to discuss other items as far as contract rate and other needs within the sheriff's department and where they're going. So having the committee of the whole has to happen. Some of the other topics, we can decide later on it.
Sounds good.
All right, let's back to picking a date. All right. Chief, what do we have proposed out there?
Mr. Chair, we'd looked at a few different things. Maybe it would be easiest to follow the board meeting on the 21st.
Sounds good to me.
Here.
Yep.
May 21st at whatever we go.
10:30?
10:30, sounds good. I'll entertain
Mr.
a
Chair,
motion.
I'm not available after the board meeting that day.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see here.
How about the 20th? After the EDA meeting?
That works for me. Monday the 20th, Chief?
What time?
It would probably be a 9:30.
9:30.
I think that will work.
All right. May 20th at 9:30 a.m. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Shane to set May 20th at 9:30 a.m. Any further discussion for a committee of the whole? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, next would be pulled a warrant in the warrant number of 109638 with Waste Management. Commissioner Catchmark.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. So in doing a claim review recently for this week, there was a claim for about $1,500 for Waste Management. And I was just doing an inquiry about family discount kind of a deal with all the different size dumpsters and cans and locations. And what I found is that this contract actually expired 7 months ago, last September, and did something that auto-renewed, they call it. So it just started billing us at the same rate at that point because it wasn't reviewed by anybody. So I just want to summarize, as those that may have forgotten, but we've got contracts of different lengths and terms here. We had a verbal agreement last year for professional service we found. We got a contract with the newspaper for 3 years. We had a contract at the old building for a pro service that we weren't using. We got this one expired 7 months ago. We had another verbal agreement in 2024 for professional service that we did away with that nobody was keeping track of in writing per se. So I found a job description for a staff position that reads under essential functions, responsible for negotiating contracts, monitors contracts for caps, terms, and compliance, promotes best practices, and helps establish and adhere to county development standards and procurement rules. This isn't the job description for the lowly District 5 commissioner. This is for the procurement analyst. And I brought this up before, but if this position isn't doing these duties, then I think we got two choices. We can either reclassify the position or we can eliminate it. But administration has told me they've advised office and department heads already to review your contracts, bring them forward, keep track, and yet we still find one like this. So as a board, if we allow this, it'll continue, and it's continuing. So that's my background justification. I think enough time has gone by for next week's workshop to hear what is the plan to keep these contracts in line with what they should be by the right staff people.
So I appreciate your time and efforts in catching this. To me, this is may or may not be an employee performance issue, which shouldn't be discussed in this fashion. This should have been something that probably should have been discussed through administration and not a public forum and corrected through such action.
Mr. Chair, to that point, it's been discussed outside the public big room and nothing's happened, and I didn't identify any particular people here. So this is the proper place because there's been no action in a couple of years. So I think it's enough time has gone by and enough chances for administration. And when we don't have anything to show for it, Mr. Chair.
Then that would be, and this is more of an action overall holistically because then it would be a performance issue from the top down. That if your issues are being brought forward and not getting the correction actions that are necessary, I guess it's more about how it's being presented, but that's okay. So with that, we can definitely have a discussion at the workshop next week regarding procurement and contracts and our practices. I think that we have to have a discussion on whether it's being actually done or not being done and to what degree it needs to be done.
And Mr. Chair, I think this isn't just my interests. I think it needed to be brought before the other decision makers. Otherwise, if nobody else is interested in this, then it just goes by the wayside, right?
No, exactly. And I appreciate because I am with you wholeheartedly. We put that position in there, and the goal was to look at doing and leveraging countywide buying and actually making sure that we are reviewing contracts on a timely basis. And it looks like you have some evidentiary proof that that's not happening. And I haven't heard myself from anyone that administration was notified and not doing anything about it. But knowing that now, I think there's a little bit more teeth to the cause if that's the case, and we maybe have to look into it deeper.
Mr. Chair, I can maybe speak to some of the work we've been doing on this. So, and if there is a desire to have a discussion, I would suggest that we bring projects to give an update on a project that they're working on. Right now, they're working on a contract document centralization project with the goal of achieving exactly what Commissioner Ketchmark is talking about. We've realized that there are a lot of contracts throughout the county that haven't been centrally documented, and we haven't been tracking them in one place. And so we're looks like about a quarter of the way through that project of figuring out how we're going to document those, what piece of software we're going to use, and then who's going to be in charge and responsible for monitoring those. So we are working on it. We're aware of it. And if you'd like, we would certainly be willing to bring forward a discussion or an update on where that project is to the next workshop.
And I would just like to add, me and Finance Director Lindsay Meyer have been talking about the future of procurement. We were going to bring that forward to you guys at a certain time for more discussion.
Will you be ready to do it next week, or are we better off holding off until June? Because I don't want to have a meeting if you're not going to be ready to present the good information.
We have been discussing it at length. Do you feel comfortable next year or not?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I don't know that we are ready to describe or explain our full plan yet. Heather and I have been spitballing ideas and thoughts on where this could go for the county, with an intent to bring something forward at budget time.
And and I get that this is a challenging process, because when going and trying to create more of a centralized hub into our administration, coming out of our siloed effect, and then trying to implement the ERP with it and using the leverages of that and trying to correct the system with having universal contracts. So if anybody isn't aware of the history, for the longest time in Wright County, every department just signed their own contracts and kept it within their own filing desks. So at that point, when we even put the procurement analyst in place, they don't know what they don't know. And I guess I was maybe, or Commissioner Ketchmark, I think maybe we all had some thoughts that this could move along a little bit faster and more efficient than it is. Truly, we're finding out that it's not as easy of a task that we maybe could have been or should be.
I think that I am hesitant to say that we need to move this along real quick based on our experience with centralizing finance and the amount of time that it has taken for us to come from the direction to centralize to where we are at now. Things are starting to work well. And I think we need to be very planful about how we go about centralizing procurement at the county. And I don't want to make a snap judgment that we need to do it now. We need time to plan for it.
And I think the biggest question that happens on a lot of the different ones is who owns these contracts, and that really is who is the sponsor or the owner of the contract, so that they're in this situation making sure that contract, whether it needs to be renegotiated, if it needs to be renewed, is actually doing that due diligence on it. And I think right now we're in that, I'm not sure on some contracts on who's the owner of it anymore.
I will say that it is very challenging to have one person do the job of all things contracting and procurement at a county this size. With the budget that we have, it's just, I will say it's impossible for us to have one person managing all of it, having their eyes on all of it. There's just too much work to be done.
And I think right now there's some ambiguity as we've kind of muddied the waters on some of these ones like this. The waste garbage is a prime example as to where it used to be owned by the individual departments. Now, well, they're not sure.
Yep.
And we have to clean that.
Individual isn't always brought into the discussion to begin with.
So hence I want to clean. I want to make sure that this doesn't portray things in a fashion that it's not, because to me, this is more of a, we need to have some hardened processes and make some clarity to the department heads that this is either or is not your responsibility to review and negotiate. And yes, you still need to file it with finance and keeping the records of it so we know about it, but you're still managing it, and vice versa when things are not.
Mr. Chair? Just real quick, so finance and admin will work together. You're working on the same project?
We are.
In this sense, okay. Just wanted to verify.
Mr. Chair, if I could, just for a little bit, I would not mind bringing this to the workshop. We're not expecting this to be like right now, right here. But I guess just because I've seen in my last year being first on here, you're kind of brought in just like, oh my gosh. So maybe we have some insights that we've seen that we can bring to the table as well to help this along. Like I said, I'm not looking to have this completed by that time, but maybe that workshop is a good time to kind of collectively see what we have seen or say what we've seen and that kind of thing. So I guess I wouldn't mind kind of working forward on it. We're looking at all the, kind of going back to the other subject, and this one seems to have a little more ground, at least some action moving in it. So I don't know why we wouldn't spend some time on it.
I agree.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair and Commissioners, we can certainly bring forward a discussion. I think I would like to work with Elizabeth and her team to figure out if they would be comfortable next week or if June would be a more appropriate time. But I think it's absolutely pertinent for the commissioners to give their input into what you've seen and what input you would like to give into that project of how we're managing contracts.
I guess we can always do it as a next week, part one, to carry to the deeper discussion as part two. We can maybe touch base a little bit on it.
Yeah.
I'll work with Elizabeth and her team to figure out what the best approach is if commissioners are comfortable with us doing that.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. I mean, I'm looking forward to that, and I appreciate the work that you're doing in that, but I think it's just a good direction. It's a good start.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, and I wish it was further than a start because
I agree.
the inquiry started 2 years ago, and now when I hear we don't want to rush things, that really isn't the best message that I want to hear after the history of things that I found as the lowly commissioner with all these other positions that really should be keeping track of these things.
Time and money. That's we chose the ERP. They went through phase 1 and phase 2 the last 2 years, so the capacity wasn't necessarily there to put as much diligence into the procurement, but there is value to it. So I appreciate you keeping on it and making sure that it is coming to fruition because it needs to happen.
And again, if it's a hard subject, Mr. Chair, to hear in the big room, I tried outside of here.
Absolutely.
But there's a point where you have to include the other 4 to say, hey, you're going to offer Mike up as a sacrifice because you're not interested? Or we are all interested as a group. That's it, right?
Absolutely. I think that holding some accountability to it. I just want to make sure we're not talking about it more on a micro level of individualized versus, but more the whole process itself having not moved forward is more the discussion and the issue is the process, not so much the, because there isn't a process, and that's the reason why it's not working. It's not so much the individualized portion of it. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Now moving on to the, did we vote on the, we didn't need to vote on the, sorry, I lost track on where we had that was the waste management contract. We didn't need to, oh yeah, we do have to approve that contract.
Probably should
that
approve
warrant.
that
Yes,
claim
you're right.
just to close
I'll
that
make a
item out.
motion to approve the claim.
All right.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Kachmarek, second by Commissioner Holland to approve the claim 109638. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimously. Recommendations from the Committee of the Whole on 615 that had to do with the impervious surfaces in County Ditch 10. Is there any discussion on either of those recommendations? I can read them if I have any questions.
I'll make a motion.
All right.
Motion by Commissioner Holland.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Kachmarek. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, next would be the recommendations from the April 16th Sheriff's Office Oracle update, which was to schedule a committee of the whole at a future date to discuss updates on the Sheriff's Office and the portable recording system, which we just did. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner
that.
Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, recommendations are approved unanimously. Last would be the approval of the April 29th Broadband Committee, which we have already approved both of those resolutions earlier in the meeting for chartering Midco. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve those recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, with that, that takes us to the end of the agenda. Is there any parting statements by any board members before we adjourn? Hearing none, all in favor, or not in favor, we'll adjourn here at 10:14.